Welcome to Black Reality with your host, me, Miss Robinson, and I'm here with Brother Ramzu Yunus, who is a human rights policy officer. And I want to kind of jump right into it, like straight up to questions. And in your opinion, right, as a powerful activist, as a powerful speaker, as a powerful brother in our movement, what would you say is the reality for Black Americans like right now? What is the reality?
I mean, the reality right now is the reality that it has been. We just an oppressed people, that's under a status that's perpetual until we do something about it, a status of minority, first of all, and we always going to be tyrannized by the majority and oppressed by the majority. So we remain in that status until we decide to become our own majority and govern ourselves independently of their power. So that's our reality. We are under a people that seems to be bent on oppressing us by nature. So that's the reality.
Yeah,
Well, no matter who it is, Trump or Biden, whoever.
so all right, you're saying yes, we understand as Black Americans. I think generally that we do have an oppressor, right? And I don't even want to say so-called because we do. But like, what would you say as a human rights policy officer? What are we supposed to do about that ultimately? Like, you say that it's up to us to do that ourselves, to remove ourselves from under the oppressor, or do we have to fight for some sort of right? How does this whole process work?
I mean, for mice to keep fighting for rights under a snake, that's illogical because a snake's going to be a snake towards a mice. He's not going to treat the mice right, especially if the mice have a right to have their own territory, not be, or even where they live, not be governed by the snake. So why would he choose to try to fight the snake to change its nature and start treating him right and not treat him as prey? So as Black people, that's why I became a human rights activist, as you say, officer, because Malcolm X pushed human rights. Dr. King abandoned the civil rights struggle right before he was assassinated and said, look, let's deal with our human rights, our natural right to govern ourselves. And this is natural. It's natural for a people that are oppressed by another people to want to govern themselves. Why stay under somebody else's government and say, please treat me right, please govern me right? When number one, you don't have any legitimacy in the first place. You enslaved me, you captured me. I didn't ask to be under your government. When I say me, I mean us as Black people.
Right.
So what we should be doing is trying to get back to where we were, not back far as physically where we were, but back to our status of governing and ruling ourselves instead of having somebody over us that we didn't ask to be over us in the first place. That was our struggle from the beginning. When they first captured us, enslaved us, we struggled to be out from under their rulership or domination.
Mm-hmm.
But as we were domesticated year after year after year, we forgot about being our own ruler. So
Hmm.
now we just want a little bit of like a lion that's domesticated, captured, put in a zoo, tamed. Now he still knows the jungle, so he still growls and tries to break free of the cage. But what about those who are born from that lion or those lions create other lions? They never knew the jungle, being king of the jungle. So they forget about freedom, liberation, and being a ruler of the jungle. So they're just satisfied and they'll growl every now and then if they want some extra meat. That's what we are as Black people. But that what that lion should be doing, just like we should be doing, is trying to get back to being the ruler of the jungle, which they have a right to be in, and stop trying to seek privilege inside of the zoo, inside of their cage.
But what does that look like, Ramzu? That sounds like I love the way you explain it. I really do. And we always get into these conversations right here. But what does that look like for everyday people, me? I'm a regular teacher, a mom, right? What are the steps that I can take to get from underneath this oppressor, with my own self-determination? How does that work?
The same way everybody has taken it. Every group of people who are oppressed have taken, such as even the founding fathers of this country, the illegitimate founding fathers of this country. They felt that they were being governed and being treated unfairly by the British powers who were really over. They were just colonies here. So what did they do? They said, we declare independence. We're going to govern ourselves where we live. You don't have no more power over us to tax us, to treat us unfairly, take money from us, oppress us. We live here, we control it. And same thing billions of people around the planet have done. When they were oppressed by others, they said, look, hold on, we the ones live here. Matter of fact, governments anywhere are only a few people governing the masses. So we don't want you to govern us no more. We declare independence of you. Simple as that. That's the solution for Black people, wherever we live. For instance, I go back to when I was first came back to America, when they had killed Michael, after they killed Michael Brown. So during that whole time, that 2015, everybody was marching, killed Tamir Rice, Michael Brown, Eric Garner. We were marching all over the place. We were upset. Here we go in Ferguson, protesting and against it, even end up rioting, burning up the place because of Michael Brown. Now, how would it look justice in that situation? We have enough people there. That's a majority Black area. We could just say, look, we declare independence. No more police force. We create our own police force. Now we run Ferguson. We govern Ferguson. We're not destroying it or anything like that. We're just going to start governing ourselves. The houses, the city, the assets of the city, everything belonged to us. Instead of marching, tearing it up, and getting upset when they didn't indict those or send those officers to jail or to prison, like we just take over the city. In Detroit, it's a majority Black city. Instead of being oppressed, homeless, when there's hundreds of thousands of empty properties, we just take it over. In every city, Black people are, instead of complaining about police brutality, complaining about unfair, wrongful convictions, complaining about gentrification, complaining about the impoverished condition that we're going to forever be in without monetary reparations and a plan with those monetary reparations, then we just take it over ourselves. We declare independence. Now we run this. We run many cities anyway. We just colonized. Jackson is a Black city ran by a Black mayor, Black city council, but it's still under white control, under white policies. So they can't do anything to benefit the people of Jackson. And that's many Black cities that we have out here.
So give me an example with Jackson, right? What you just said. Black, it's a Black city, it's Black mayor, Black, all of these other people, right? So what do? They have to create their own policies or establish their independence first and then create policies? Like what
Yeah,
is that?
yeah. Okay, so when you even become a Black city, eventually all of them were white.
Right.
So now you inherit an economic system that's still dominated by white people, by those who stole the land themselves and enslaved us. So they still own the businesses, run everything there. They still own the real estate, so you still renting from them or trying to buy from them, still own everything. The systems that's there, the electrical company you paying electricity to, that's their electricity company. So everything belongs to them. Now you just running and keeping your people, managing your people under their still economic domination and really political domination, because you're just a city that's under the domination of the county, which may be majority white. You're under the state that may be majority white. And you're definitely under the federal government that is majority white. So they ultimately control you. And Jackson served as an example a year or a year and a half ago when they passed a bill to strip the city of its powers. The state did. The white state said, okay, we control you ultimately, so we can pass policies to control that dominate that Black city. So even if you are a Black city, you're just a colony. But Jackson can say, look, we declare independence. We're going to control this electrical company. We'll control the water company. The properties of the city, we're taking them under our control and letting people have free housing.
What do you mean by control the water company, the electric company? How? Like you create your own? You're like, what are you doing?
You can take them over. The pipes are there under the ground. The switch is right there where the water comes from. You control that switch. You might, and as far as electricity, the switch is there. The power station is right there. We're taking control over it. But ultimately, what we can do, like for instance, in Detroit, there's an electrical company there. We spent about some years ago, I calculated at $319 million per year. That's what we pay in electrical bills, $319 million. But for around just $250 million one-time investment, we can put solar power there and have free electricity forever. So I said, okay, forget that company anyway. Eventually, forget it anyway. We're going to leverage the city assets and go ahead and create some alternative energy that'll be free forever. So now we control that ourselves.
That makes sense to me. You know what I mean? I feel like so the part that I think that myself, I'm just really like kind of breaking this down so everybody else can understand where you're coming from as well. Because I feel like not that I'm like the average person, but yeah, when it comes to these conversations that we have, I always come in from it like how would a random person on the street, random black person on
Mm-hmm.
the street, like receive this and understand this information? And these might be the questions that would come up for them,
Good
right?
questions.
So yeah, I'm just trying to break it down. So when you say you want to leverage the assets, right, in the city, how do you have access, or how do we have access to what did you say before, housing or assets or property or any of
Yeah.
those things?
The government can actually, I know you heard of many people, even the people who are not into politics, into law or anything, eminent domain. The city ultimately control, the government ultimately have control over that property that they're governing. So look, we said, look, this is our property. We're controlling it. And a lot of governments, the city properties are foreclosed for not paying taxes, et cetera, et cetera. The government takes control of that as well. So the governments, they have assets. They have assets.
So we would be our sort of own government, right? Obviously, right? So then we would say that maybe we select a certain space that we want to carve out that has a number of foreclosed homes or things of that nature. Is that what you're looking for? Or is it like,
Yeah. I mean, properties of the government and governments in general have leverage because they control the economic policies of the city. So they have leverage with economic institutions, with financial institutions. They say, okay, we need $10 billion or whatever. How are you going to pay us back? We're going to pay you back because everything that's sold in our city, we're going to nationalize that and make sure everything that's sold, we sell it, and the people got to buy food. So if we control food, then we're definitely going to make that money back as a city government, new city, independent government. So now we can pay you back. So just as a government controlling economic policies, you can get money from financial institutions because you control how people spend money in your city, on your territory.
so you just mentioned something else really quickly about like food, right?
Mm-hmm.
How would this setup also control food in this way?
Man, it's easy. Food, they have urban gardening now. That's a small scale. I'm scaling it down to urban gardening. Now, what if the city officially did urban gardening with a lot more money than just the average Joe on the corner having a little garden in his backyard or a greenhouse?
Mm-hmm.
There are certain plans I've seen, like one plan for just $50 million, you can set up a farm on probably 3 football fields, hydroponics, etc., and you can grow food for 2 cities,
Right.
for 2 big cities, just for $50 million. And now you're growing your own food and you put it in the grocery stores, and the people are buying the food that you created.
Right. Now,
Water, cities buy water. We all, I don't know if you, I know you're healthy, so you drink water. You buy bottled water. I bet you that bottled water is not from the city that you live in.
no, it's not.
Why that city that you live in can't drill a well or even take the tap water, refine it through reverse osmosis and bottle it up and sell it. So that's some extra millions going to you. The city now bans water that's outside of it.
Hmm.
So now that the money stays in the city. So those millions we spend in the bigger cities per week on water, those millions go back to the city.
Yeah. So why not, like, think about it? I mean, I know you mentioned the reality of where we are as a people in America, and it's getting more and more bleak by by the day. But why wouldn't I? I hear all the things you're saying. This seems like it's going to be dangerous, or like people are going to have a problem with what we're doing, or how are we actually going to secure these things? Why wouldn't I just, okay, I'm going to try to go get a grant or something like that and do the hydroponic, garden in this area instead of me like taking over a space, because I feel like that's what most Black Americans are
Mm-hmm.
used to doing. And I mean, I know you
Mm-hmm.
can explain why we shouldn't, and that's kind of what I want to know. Like, why shouldn't we continue to go through the same process that we have been doing, even though I feel like I'm asking you the same question again and again. But yeah, like, because I feel like Black people are gonna say, like, well, I'm gonna just try to get a grant and do it that way,
Mm-hmm.
or I'm
Mm-hmm.
gonna, like, create an organization and try to raise
Think
money
that.
and then eventually get a grant to
Mm-hmm.
be able to try to do these things. um
Mm-hmm.
yeah, why shouldn't we do that way?
Why should you try to do something when you can guarantee to get it done with your own hands? trying to get a grant. So you're relying on the benevolence of the government. And they don't have enough grants to make us self-sufficient. Matter of fact, they won't even give us grants to make us self-sufficient. It's like they'll give you money for a car, won't give you money for a house or a business, but they give you money for a car first.
Yeah.
Nothing to empower you and make you really stable. But why rely on them anyway? And most people don't even have the resources to even get a grant. But the land is right there. I can get that land right now and start planting on it. Lawfully, I can take it. So why I have to go through all those processes, like the few of us that do get grants and have to rely on the benevolence of a system? I don't want to have to rely on them. Like Malcolm, I always spoke about, well, I have to rely on somebody's benevolence who has no benevolence.
Mm-hmm. So you mentioned like they won't even give us grants anyway, generally speaking. So what's your take on this, the DEI conversations that's been going on? If you're familiar, the diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives that were set forth on all of these different corporations. And now we've been seeing since President Trump and his cabinet of folks have decided to, prompt companies to get rid of these DEI initiatives. What do you think about, those that have rolled back? Do you think DEI initiatives ever mattered? Like, what do you feel about that one?
Yeah, a few people benefited from DEI amongst our people, but overall, it just conditioned us, or what can I say, usurped us into their power structure and given us some privileges instead of us going for ourselves and having our own power. DEI is a symbol that, look, you never had power in the first place. We never shared anything with you, because if it was shared power, then we wouldn't ask for privileges and they wouldn't be able to dispossess us of that privilege that they gave us, because we're sharing power. So now, instead of Black people going on their own and having our own power, let you in. We'll let you have a position, few positions that you might not even deserve. Some people deserve, some people don't deserve. We're giving it to you because you're Black. It's a privilege. But it shows us that, look, we're not sharing power with them in the first place. We're always subject to them, and they can even dispossess those same privileges that they gave us. If we had power, they can't uninclude you if you were really included, but you never were included. They was allowing you there based on some little policies that are illegal, because the majority don't want them. Then the majority makes a decision. So why would you give somebody something that is not really legal in the first place? It's just a privilege. Majority rules in America. Majority rules. Anything for minorities is just, like they said, DEI, those little policies they put in place because they know by nature that they're going to treat us wrong. So they're going to give us some little privileges here and there. So why would you want to be in a system where they have to include you, have to put a policy to include you instead of naturally including you?
Yeah. So thank you for that. So there'll be a lot of people that will say that what you're talking about doing just can't happen in America. It's just it's not possible. Like, there's no way that we'll be able to like coexist in America, have our own scenario on technically their land, right? I don't know. I don't know how else to say that. So what are we supposed to do? Do you think there's truth in that? Like, that just really kind of can't happen fully in America? Or yeah.
I mean, like I said, we're a domesticated people. We don't even know running our own show. We don't even think like that. The zookeeper has to keep us and feed us. We don't even think about running the zoo ourselves. So we're domesticated. So I understand us thinking in a domesticated way. We can't do that. We do this, that. But of course, the original people that were captured, they saw freedom. They ran their own economy. They ran things. They fed themselves. They had their own agricultural system, economic system, etc. So they didn't feel them. So I understand our people feeling that way, but we can't do that. They're not going to allow us to do it. It's too dangerous. Well, we'll stay there and just accept what's given to you. Accept what's given, or what's being taken from you, actually. But the situation we find ourselves in now under Trump is just straightforward. You're going to be forced into thinking like Ramzu or like Sayana. You're going to be forced into trying to do something for yourself. He's going to take it from you. He's taking aid from these different programs, grants. He's taking aid from African countries and these different countries. So now you're forced to do for self, even though you had the mentality, why don't we get it from them? They can do it. We can't do it ourselves. Okay, well, they taking it from you anyway. So thank you, Trump, for recruiting people to my way of thinking by default.
So I want you to continue because I still want to go back to the part where do you think that things like that, like everything that you just mentioned, is the whole conversation of us having our independence, our own space, our own lane, all of that in America, should that happen? Or can that happen more easily in another country? I guess I would say presumably like Africa, that's where most people are, and that's a continent, but that's what that's what most people are saying. Like, you just need to go somewhere in Africa and then figure it out, as opposed to staying in America. But I want to sidebar and say, I've definitely posted something saying like, I didn't vote for Trump, but what I said is that having Trump as our president will most certainly wake us up. There's no other way. Like there's literally no other way. We would not have even considered, like you said, something that Ramzu has been talking about for many years now, because we don't have a choice. I don't. I that's like kind of. I hate that that's a part of our like human nature, that we wait until, you know what I'm saying, the
Mhm.
literal, you know what, has hit the fan, where your back is up against the wall and you don't have a choice but to fight. It's like, that's kind of where Black folks are at this point. I mean, almost like all, Black and poor people in America are really about to be in that scenario. So yeah, you can speak to that if you like, but yeah, please tell me if you think that it's easier rather to establish some sort of independence and all of what you said in America, or somewhere in another country or another
Yeah.
continent or something.
Yeah, first of all, we're already on our own where we live. My neighborhood, ain't no white folks there. It's all black anyway. We already have our own space. Somebody, of course, some of us do live amongst Caucasians, amongst white people. But the majority of us, we're in our own space anyway. It's just we're just a colony in that space because it's ran by others economically and politically. So we're talking about taking it over economically and politically. It's already our own space. You see, but it's easier to do it right where you are without having to go anywhere. And that's what the right of self-determination is. Even America's own law, they have accepted the right of self-determination as part of international law and a part of international law supremacy over American law. So that dictates and says, look, black people, if you don't like the way you're being governed, wherever you are, you can collectively say we declare independence, have a vote or have a collective declaration of independence and control it. Or you can, of course, we're free to return back to where they took us from. So, many of us from. Some people say they were already here, but you're free to go anywhere you want to go.
No, I wanted
Myself, yeah, go
I,
ahead.
I wanted to bring that I wanted to bring that up. It's always a very interesting conversation when I talk to people that, and here's another word that I'm going to say that I would love to know your thoughts about. When I talk about reparations, right? And and they start to say that, we're already from here, so it has nothing to do
Mhm.
with like being, I don't know if they're trying to say like it has nothing to do with being enslaved, or it has nothing to do with like, we were brought here and then we're enslaved. Because my conversation, that for most people that want to talk about that, especially when they say that we're like native, that, and they kind of lean more towards to like Native American, theories or what have you. But it's like, does that mean that we were not enslaved though? That's kind of my conversation.
Mhm.
It's like, does that mean that we were not still subjected to all of the horrible things and acts and oppression and so on and so forth? And I think that that doesn't change anything, but I'm not sure why it needs to be so clear as to us being native or we were stolen. I don't know how else to say it right now.
We're still under their illegal domination.
Yeah.
We're still under them. So what are you going to do about it? Whatever you are, you still suffer the same consequences. They're going to treat you as a black person, whatever they see you as when the police stop you.
Yeah.
And overall, they're not going to say, "Oh, I detect that you are a native, so I'm going to treat you different."
Mm-hmm.
I detect that you are this. No, you're being treated like a black person. You're being treated, you're being oppressed. So
Yeah.
it doesn't matter whether you claim you are, you still have a right of self-determination to stand up and govern yourselves. It's still a right that you have. So I don't, get into all those classifications. People that really are oppressed and don't have any power, they're gonna, what they say, an idle mind's a devil's workshop. We're
Mhm.
gonna come up with all kinds of philosophies and all this kind of stuff because we're not running anything. So
Right.
besides our mouths and our minds just running here and there, we developing all kinds of things. We're not busy running a nation. So
Mm.
we come up with all kinds of different philosophies to talk about, and it's a relief for an oppressed people to develop all these things. But overall, whatever you are oppressed, and you should do something about it.
Agreed. Um, Reparations, do you think that's a worthy cause or no?
Reparations is a natural cause. If you owe me, naturally, I want you to pay me back. If you've damaged me, I want repair. I have to be repaired in order to move forward into progress. I have to be repaired. If you sit there and break my legs and I stay on the ground, I have to be repaired. I can't move. I can't stand. I can't walk anymore. I have to be repaired. You broke my legs. So black people, we have broken legs. We're on the ground. So we must be repaired so we can move forward, stand up and move forward. But reparations is bigger than what people think. In international law, reparations, first of all, is the restoration of a people back to the condition they were in before the violation.
Mm,
So self-determination and self-governance and independence, that's the first thing.
right.
Take us from under your power. Put us back in the powerful position we were in.
I
That's
like
the first. That's the first part of reparations. On down the line is monetary compensation for any damages you may have done.
I love how you just spun that right back, Ramzu, right back to you said, can you say it one more time what the actual meaning of reparations means again? Like how I like the way you explain it because the way you're right, we think of reparations like just give me my money. You know what I'm saying? Like I know you owe me money, like give me my money. And
Yeah.
I do and like let's not take it there like oh people just want to check. It really is for like our
Mm-hmm.
time, what you've done to our people for hundreds of years. Like you
Mm-hmm.
owe us, you do, like for real.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the general way that we kind of think of it. Is like that, maybe some sort of like, grants again or
Mm-hmm.
institutions in some which way or
Mm-hmm.
form or whatever. But say it again, the way that you explain reparations.
Yeah, in law, and in just natural situations, repair. That's where the word reparations come from. You're repairing something. We were damaged as a people. Our first point of damage was us being taken out of our own power, becoming powerless. So if you want to restore, repair me, I have to have my power back. So
Mm,
that's why in law, where reparations come from, the first point of reparations, a stage of reparations, and the main focus of reparations is to restore the people back to the conditions that they were in before the violations.
yeah.
Before the violation. So that means putting us back in power, self-determination, self-governance. Now, once we're back in power, okay, these are the damages. These are what you owe us. Let's tally up what you owe us. And then you could give us some money or some financial compensation for what you do. So compensation is part of reparations as well. But the number one component of reparations is restoring those people back to their condition.
Mm,
That you can't repair me by giving me a check and I'm still under your economic system.
right.
Repair me by giving me
Right
back
back.
my own economic system because I'm just going to stimulate your system anyway. I don't own anything I'm spending my money on.
And
And if
wouldn't
I
that
had,
be just like Trump to be like, see, let's give them
yeah,
reparations so they can throw it right back in?
exactly, it'd be a smart move
It would
because
be.
it's not repairing anything.
Yeah,
So repair me by letting me control my own economy.
right.
And also, we don't need money anyway. If I control my own economy and our own policies, now we got our own food. We're growing our food. What you gonna do with the money? You're gonna spend it on food. You're gonna spend it on housing. Well, we got free housing in our country, in
Right.
our new nation. So you don't need to have that money to spend on things that's free anyway. Land is free. Housing is free. These are human rights as well. So you wouldn't even need that much money under a correct system.
Mhm. So go back and tell me, do we need to do this somewhere else? Because I feel like America's gonna put up a fight. Like they not gonna like just be okay with us just creating our own new nation within America.
Yeah, I meant resistance by evil when you're trying to do something good. That's natural. So you're going to expect resistance. Heck, even the evil founding fathers who had slaves, they had resistance by the British, but they ultimately accepted that resistance because they knew that what they were doing was right. They said, "Give me liberty or give me death." I'm ready to face the resistance. And even if we go somewhere else, we're going to face resistance. If we don't go to Africa or wherever we want to go and remain in subjugation and domination by white folks anyway, they're going to resist us and try to sabotage us. Africa are African countries ran by black people all the way in Africa. Well, I'm in Africa now myself.
Mm-hmm.
But America won't even allow an African country to be independent and control their own economy. So wherever we go, they're going to still try to control us. So we're going to always face resistance. So why not resist where we are?
Yeah. I'm grateful for that because you know how I am, Ramzu. I'm here for like, I believe, I'm not saying that we should not travel, but I'm not here for like we just need to leave America. Like this is my forefathers' land. Like they worked it, they tilled it, yours to so many other people, in this country. So it is our land in that respect. Like I don't have to be a native in that way to say that this is my land. I have generations that go back right here. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad that you feel that way. So I'm glad, and you're also
Let
in.
me let me point something out though. Myself personally, I would rather be in Africa, a beautiful place, nice weather. It's
Oh
our
yeah.
winter time. It's our winter time now, but it's 80 degrees during the day and in the 80s. And
Okay.
it's our so-called wintertime. So I would rather be in a rich land, beautiful land, than be over there in America. Of course, the whole planet belonged to original people, black people, but we chose the best part. So if you have 1 million acres, you're going to choose the best part of that acreage.
Mhm.
So we got trillion, billions, or whatever of acreage around the planet because it belongs to us, but we choose the best part. So I would choose to be in the best part of the earth, even though America is ours as well.
I do. I thank you for that. I do feel the same way. I get where you're going with that because I definitely would like to spend some other time, like substantial time, in other places as well, like that are the best parts um, of Earth, right? Basically. So you're in Africa right now. You're in Egypt, I could say, right? And why Egypt? Why right now? I've been seeing you do some amazing work, some building, some gardening or planting yourself, right? I think it's a little bigger than gardening, right, at this point. But
Mhm.
yeah, tell me or tell us why Egypt, why now, what's going on?
Well, like I said, I'm a natural man. So any natural man wants to have his own, doesn't want to be fed by another man, doesn't want to be dominated by another man. Some sisters get at me when I say it. I say that's a woman thing. They like being dominated. That's their nature. But as a man, I'm not gonna let another man control me and be overpowered. So even when I'm in America, I'm still in coming back and forth, engaged in the struggle for our power there. But over here as well, we're establishing something for ourselves who want to get out of America, who want to have something for themselves, their own economy, their own food supply, etc. So their own sovereignty. So we're here in this area doing things here in Egypt and in other places in this area, establishing something for ourselves, for those who want to leave and come back. And eventually, America is not going to be in a good condition to want to stay anyway. Just like Trump is trying to advise the people and force them out of Gaza, talking about this scorched earth or whatever, it's tore down, it's going to be demolished. America's going to be a big demolition site in the future by its enemies or even by God Himself, if people believe in that, because of the evil that America has done to God's people, to people in general, and to other nations that want to have retaliation against America. So America is going to be scorched earth and demolition site like Gaza as well. So we don't want to live amongst that. You don't want to be breathing in the smoke. You definitely don't want to be part of it. That's why we have to have our self-determination in America. So when America's enemies do what it has to do to America, then we won't be part and parcel of that punishment because it's coming.
Yeah, I think so too. I think most people, I think everybody can kind of feel that, you know what I mean? Like this, it's almost time for chickens, right? To
You
come
come home to
to
roost.
roost,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, that's kind of what that is. So, what about the work in Detroit that you were doing before? Are you still do you still have people or hands or feelers in America, even though you're in Egypt? And it does seem like, from what I heard, that you're having an easier quote unquote time where you are getting done the things that you set forth as opposed to back in the States.
Yes, of course it's easier, no resistance like that, but we're still like I'm coming back to Detroit this year. We're going to conclude that the mission is Black independence in America, our self-determination. So I'm not going to abandon that struggle, but I got to work on sometimes you have to work on two fronts. A front here where a lot of people want to come and eventually all of us going to return. So I have to do this work. But in Detroit, it's still going on. We're going to conclude that. We've had our Black independence vote, several voting rallies and sessions there in Detroit government. A lot where the federal government stepped in and really controlled the show in Detroit when they saw us having people vote. So that's the resistance that you were talking about. They are going to resist, try to oppose it by any means. Illegally. They can't legally do anything to stop what we're doing in Detroit or elsewhere in Black America. We can have a vote, and if the people say we want to be independent, we can take independent control over it. So now we're just recruiting the capacity to actually take independent control of Detroit and run Detroit. And that's what the law says we have the ability to do. Yeah, they're resisting, but I'm a man. So if I have to, in order to make my family eat and be well taken care of, I may have to face death. I'm not gonna let my family sit there and suffer, and I'm supposed to be the man. So I'm a concerned, loving person of my community. So I'm gonna stand up for my community for what I know that they have a right to enjoy. And they have a right to enjoy independence in Detroit and elsewhere. So we're still in Detroit. We're going to bring it to a conclusion in Detroit and all over America. We're going to be independent. Wherever Black people live, we're going to control that.
Yeah, I like that. You also mentioned that you're a natural man, right? And I know your food focus, right, and your eating habits. And I wanted to know from your just experience with food and health food and all of that. Um, what is the reality again for Black Americans when it comes to our general diet and health regimen or lack thereof?
The reality is
Mhm.
we're just a bunch of suicide committers, basically. We on a path to suicide. And if 90 some percent, at least 95% of us die from self-inflicted eating, and that's a bad reality when we're killing ourselves. It's preventable diseases, they say. 95 to 98% preventable diseases. We can't name anybody that died naturally. They all die, if not an accident, a car accident or something like that. Everybody died from self-inflicted dietary practices, you
Yeah.
see. So that's our reality. We just have to know better for one. Then once we know better, know what to eat, we have to have enough discipline to exercise what we know. But the reality of America concerning our health is we're dead, really. We're dead. So we got to bring ourselves back to life, stop committing suicide, and put ourselves on a new way. And then can act better. My message will reach people and resonate better if people ate better.
Hmm.
You mentioned people will say, as you said earlier, we can't do that. They're afraid because you're eating fear. You're eating fear. Literally, when that animal's being slaughtered or even lined up to be slaughtered, he know the person in front of him is being slaughtered. So he's suffering that anxiety, that fear. Oh, I'm getting ready to be slaughtered. So fear creates chemicals, fear chemicals, anxiety chemicals. And that chemical's in the meat. So we eat that food. Now we naturally have anxiety. We naturally have fear. And also component of love. You know that certain foods feed love, help you, that part of your brain have more love for ourselves, for each other. So, and love itself cancels out fear, like the scripture says. Love, it would cancel out fear. So that's why I move the way I move. Part of the way I move where I move because I eat naturally. So I'm gonna act like a natural man that don't fear. Of course, fear in some cases is natural, but I'm not gonna let that fear overcome me. And when something that I love is being harmed, if my daughter fell into a lion's pit, if 20 lions, I'm jumping in that pit. I'm jumping in there. I got it naturally for my love of my. I got it because I love my daughter. I don't care about no lions. So I don't care about this American government when I love 50 million of our people.
See how you
So
made
that's part of being natural.
you made me smile. I like that. That was good. So, but what has this diet been and how long has it been? You were mentioning this connection to love, right? That can cancel out fear. What are
Mhm.
the types of food that, create love, and what has your diet been and for how long now?
Yeah, I've been a raw food vegan. I like to say live food, raw food, man. They think I'm eating raw
Right.
meat or something. But live raw fruits and vegetables. Been doing that since 98. This is my 27th year that we're in right now. So that means mostly smoothies, blending up berries. Berries is a good food that increases your capacity to love as well. So a lot of berries, bananas. For protein, I put some seeds in there for protein. And that's my main diet is smoothies, maybe 95% smoothies or 90, at least 90%, more like 95%. Then the other 10%, 5%, I'll make some salads, cut up some cucumbers, arugula, salad, spinach, things like that, and put some apple cider vinegar on it and season it and eat that, avocados, and so that's what I eat 5% or 10% of the time.
And you've been doing this since 1998. And what started you on that journey? Was it this, connection to love, or how did you
Yeah,
get
connection to
on
love of myself.
this?
First, we all say we love ourselves, but if you saw me with the nicest car, what can I say, a Rolls Royce. I love that car. I'm polishing that thing every day. I'm making sure it got the right rims, the right wheels on it. Everything's clean. Then you see me putting sugar in the tank. You say, okay, now he loves his car, but something he misses something in his brain to be putting sugar in the tank. So that's us. We say we love ourselves. We don't know how to treat ourselves so that we can function properly. So part of me loving myself was to learn about myself. How do I treat myself right? Then I question why these people around me, my people I love, why are they dying? Why are my family members before they reach 50 years old, before they reach 60 years old, why are they dying from heart attacks? Why are they in terrible shape? What's happening? So I learned that, oh, wow, it's the food. It's what they're eating. So naturally, if I see them dying, I don't want to look like them. I don't want to be in the condition that they are in. I want to preserve myself. So I said, okay, the best way to do that, I'm learning, is to eat this way. So I just started eating that way based on the love I have of myself and want to preserve myself and the discipline I had to practice that love. And so that's what led me here.
Thank you. Did you have a mentor? Did you read books? Like, how did you come across this type of lifestyle? I would say in 1998, I'm not saying obviously there were, raw food, live food is at that time and before that, but definitely it was not heard of as much back in the 90s. Nonetheless, not even in the early 2000s. Like, some people still don't understand this concept. So yeah, well, how did you come to this knowledge?
Well, first we had black leadership from way back in the 30s and stuff,
Mhm.
talking about us changing our diet, maybe even before the 30s. Like you had the Nation of Islam, and that's where I read that black people were eating wrong. Shouldn't eat pork. It didn't go as far as it did go as far as being a vegan, but it didn't push it, the vegan thing. But it did say we were eating wrong. We should eat to live instead of living to eat. So that's what first let me know that black people were not eating right through the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, the leader of the Nation of Islam at the time. Who not founded it, but really was the leader of it and helped it to grow after Fard Muhammad founded it. But he had that kind of leadership. So I already knew that we weren't eating right based on that. Then I grabbed a book, and at the time I was a teenager. No, I think I was 20. I just turned 20. I was in prison actually, and I couldn't get those books, especially by Elijah Muhammad. They wouldn't allow those Black Muslim books in prison, especially in North Carolina. But I was able to get two books that I read. One of them was Heal Thyself by Queen Afua. The other one was God, the Black Man, and the Truth by Ben Ami. I think that was the one where he was really going over rationalizing why we're sick, and it made me say, oh, we should be eating vegan. So I immediately became vegan and put my sights on eating right, learning how to eat right. And that was it. That knowledge came to me when I was just searching for a way to better and improve myself.
Yeah, thank you for that, Ramzu. I just wanted everybody to understand like how committed you are to the discipline and the self-determination that is going to take that it takes to become, you know, a independent person, free thinker, all of that. Like, you know, this all connects, and you're
And
absolutely
no, it all connects
right.
people, and also that's why all religions do have a dietary regimen.
Yeah.
You read the Bible, it got dietary regimen. You read the Quran, got dietary instructions. You read the Hindu Vedas, the Hindus, they have dietary. Everything has a dietary because that's part of it. You know, food contains, as they say, the blood contains the soul. So eating different souls, and so it makes us unable to even follow religious practices and have religious discipline if we eat certain ways. So yeah, it ties in, and it increases the fear for even taking action. But go ahead.
Yeah, no, I mean, I just want to kind of end on a question about discipline. Like, what are the next, I would say, steps, right? Disciplined actions that Black people should take, right, to move to help the reality of the situation for us in, you know, America at this point.
Okay, let's break it down to micro level. Where you are in your community. So your community, I'm sure every black community, they especially now with the bold President Trump, all of them are no good, but he's bold and he's not hiding. He's not trying to be a wolf in sheep's clothing. He's a wolf in wolf's clothing. So now our community are faced with the reality that we mentioned when you first started the show. We are oppressed. We're under their power. We're under their tyranny. They're going to punish us and keep punishing us and increase the punishment. So what can we do? So we get with our concerned community members and look, do you like what's going on? No, we don't like what's going on. We never like what's going on. Now, there's something we can do, community members. I don't care if it's 5 or 6 blocks, the east side or the west side. We can do something. Well, what can we do to escape this tyranny that's going on, this oppression, this homelessness? Okay, did you know that we can just form a independent, autonomous zone ourselves and we control it? We control the police force, we control the houses of this area, the assets of this area. We control if ICE agents come in trying to kick down doors or whoever come in, we control that if we just declare independence and now we control it. So let's come together, have a consensus. Want everybody in this community, we got 5,000 people in this area, we're going to vote. So if a majority of us say yes, we want to be independent. So now we run this. We put a notice up, put a sign, whatever we have to put up and get them. Look, we control this. We have declared independence. You can't send no police force in here. You can't come in here kicking people out of their houses. We control the housing here. We control the water here. So it starts with the black people first becoming aware of the right to do that. And now they just can have a consensus through a vote or you voting a leadership in, that leadership make that unilateral decision like the American government did. They made a unilateral decision because they were leadership and they said, we declare independence. So you come with your community members at a micro level and say, look, we don't like what's going on. We declare independence. We running this ourselves. There's nobody gonna come and kick people out of houses no more on our block. We're not being gentrified. We control the housing policies here. It's as simple as that, taking it to a micro level. Even if you have to set up like we have block associations in certain neighborhoods. Okay, this is a block government now. We're governing this thing. We run this. The block association is going to establish our own police force, our own security for the community. So we have the power to do that. That's what self-determination is. So that's what we should begin at, saying, look, we don't like what's going on. Let's declare independent, put mechanisms in place, a governing council, whatever, of our neighborhood, of our city, of the east side, the west side. If you're a black majority city, so we're going to run this. And when you have that established, look, okay, boom, we're ready. We have our mechanisms in place, our committees, our commissions, our council, etc. We declare independence. Trump, you can't come in here. You can't come in kicking nobody out of their houses. You can't do this. You can't do that. It's as simple as that.
Mm.
You see the college kids, what they did last year when they were protesting or the year before last, whenever, against the genocide going on in Palestine. They said they created what's called liberated zones. They did it symbolically, but a liberated zone is what I'm talking about. It can be as small as a liberated zone that police can't come in. The government can't touch. We've declared independence. This zone is liberated from the tyranny of Donald Trump or anybody.
So Ramzu, what if I want to become or know what you know? How do I become a human rights policy officer? Or how do I get in touch with you? Or what do I do if I want just more information in New Jersey and wherever I am in the world, actually?
Yes, and we encourage you to be a human rights policy officer, everyone. Because even according to international law, if you read international law, they say it's our duty as individuals, not even as an organization like human rights policy officers, but as individuals to promote and protect your own human rights. So we have a duty to that. So if you want to learn more about your human rights, and take on the baton that Malcolm tried to pass on, that Dr. King tried to pass on, and take up the human rights struggle, and that can finalize and bring our struggle to a conclusion, you can simply go to our website. It's humanrightspolicy.us, humanrightspolicy.us, and you'll see how to register to become a human rights policy officer, get certifications like a 5-hour course you take to get certification to know your basic human rights and what you can do. And then you work with us, and we can help you organize on your community. We'll even come to your community, help organize a vote for independence, help put forth governing mechanisms to govern you in your independence. We can do that, help you with that.
All right. Thank you so much, Ramzo. I'm going to make sure that I put all of your links, all of your information when I post this video. But thank you so much, Ramzo. I just wanted to talk to someone that I knew that was as powerful as you are about the reality of what's going on in Black America right now. Because, we've got our work cut out for us. But I feel like with you at the helms and so many others that maybe we can, actually do some amazing things for our people. And I think that should be independence, like you said, Ramzu. So thank you again for your time. I appreciate you. And thanks so much to everyone that's been watching today. This is Black Reality with me, Miss Robinson. All right, we'll see you next time.